Good afternoon. Just wanted to show the completed toolbox restoration. I Earlier this morning I painted the bottom, let that dry. Then I did a little touch ups where I felt they were needed. And I wanted to say that I'm really pleased with the end result here. I think it turned out really well considering the condition it was in when I brought it home, and it there was a couple issues. As I mentioned, the top drawer here was sort of jammed. It wouldn't open, or it really wouldn't close or open right. And it was keeping, for whatever reason, the mechanism wasn't allowing these other two drawers to open. So I was able to remove the top drawer, get the mechanism straightened out. It was a little crooked, and it needed some oil and basically a good scrubbing. And the other issue was the lid of the box wouldn't open, partly because of the mechanism, the drawer locking mechanism. And the other thing I found that, and not until yesterday, the hinge runs all on the back of the box. I won't bother. You can't even see it now because it's all painted over. But the hinge had, once again, didn't realize it until I got it outside. Half of the hinge was pretty rusted. Thankfully, it was just surface rust. Otherwise, the box probably wouldn't have been salvageable. So I laid the box flat overnight last night, and once again I saturated it, and or the night before, I should say, I'm sorry, not last night. The night before, I saturated it, cleaned it up really good, and then I painted it. When I did that before I painted the entire box. I mean, I'm sorry, my days are a little confused here. But now, yeah, the lid does open and close smoothly. Drawers open and close smoothly. I got the keys nice and cleaned up, and the locking mechanism works just fine. I just didn't show you. I just unlocked it, and it's locked. Oh, I contradicted myself there. It wouldn't have opened anyway, but there it is. Drawer does open, locked, and there it is locked. So yeah, it works good. All of the drawers are operating nice and smoothly. I got these front little decorative edge pulls, the little decorative pieces for the pull. I got those polished up. They look pretty good. I painted the entire box, including the interior, because there was a lot of rust buildup in this back corner, this back left corner especially. There was some pitting in that corner. Thankfully, it did not eat through. Otherwise, I would have had to get some like Bondo or something like that. But once I got it cleaned up, everything looked pretty good. There was nothing there that was too concerning. I did not paint the drawers though. I did put a coat of wax on them as well as the slides. I didn't paint the drawers, and it's a shame because this drawer here could really use. I thought about taping off the stickers, but I didn't know how that would look, and if I painted it, and I wanted to keep the stickers on it. Not that they're anything special, but that's the way. Yeah, when my mom's husband, my stepdad, he bought it. This is what it was. I wanted to try to keep it as original as possible, and considering that this box, I did a little research, and it looks like these boxes were produced for Craftsman back in like the mid 90s, between 1992 and 1996 or so, or something like that. And that sounds about right. That seems to be about the time when he would have purchased this back then, because he was still working at the company he was working for at that time. He was still there, and I know it was used there for no other reason than these lockout tagouts are are marked with the company name on them. So he left there in the right around 1998 or so. So that does make perfect sense. Considering this box is probably 25 to 30 years old, and considering the condition it was in, I'm really happy with the end result here. And what I'm probably going to do is to show you what I have in here. You know what? Let me see if I can flip this around. I'm sorry, I'm trying to film without being able to see what I can see here. So this is just, I have some of his tools in here that I found, and there's a handful of, all these tools up top are tools that I found in the box when I brought it home, with the exception of these feeler gauges here. Those were mine, and those drill bits. But here I have some of the punch down tools, a wrench that I found in the box, or the punch down tools. I'm talking like an electrician. The punch tools, the set of Allen keys on the ring. Now these are my wrenches. These are just a couple of monkey wrenches I have, and that's my wrench as well. These are some of my tools are in here in the bottom here. But what I'm probably going to do is keep my plumbing tools in here, and my plumbing fittings and stuff like that. And I have a small metal box. I keep some of them in, and I also keep them in my big toolbox. So it'd be nice to have them all in one spot. But yeah, so that's it. It turned out pretty well. I'm really happy with it, and I hope I did it justice. It was really the whole effort came down to elbow grease. Really, just a lot of scrubbing, and a little bit of patience. Just letting the WD-40 do its job, letting the rust remover do its job. Also cool, this was his keychain I found in there. So I put the keys for the toolbox on here on the ring, and I put also the keys for my toolbox is on here as well. And I did get this micrometer box polished up. I put a coat of linseed oil and isolate and a coat of wax on it today. So the micrometer is in really good shape. It didn't need anything but just a little wipe down. And the other thing I want to show here is when the lid closes. When I brought it home, the lid was not closing. It was only closing on this side, not this side. There was a big gap here, and now that's with the locking mechanism oiled up and cleaned up really well. It's operating as it should. And I also today I painted the clasps for the handle. I wasn't going to paint them at first, but I noticed when I put the first coat of paint on it yesterday, I noticed there was a little bit of pitting on this one on the right side. So as I said, I didn't really want to go through drilling these out, punching them, and riveting them back. They're not in the condition they're in is fine. They just need it really just to be polished up a bit. But this one did have a little bit of pitting from rust, so I sanded that off as best as I could, and rather than try to polish it up, I figured a coat of paint would protect it a lot more than just polishing it and putting some 3-in-1 oil on it. I think the paint will help it, hopefully help it last a lot longer. I actually was going to paint the hasps as well, but I didn't want to gum them up. Only reason I was going to paint them is just so everything matched, but it's fine. It looks just fine the way it is. So yeah, I'm happy I did this. I'm really pleased with it, and it's not one of those restorations where you see people, they take the whole thing. I obviously took a good portion of it apart. I had no choice, but I didn't grind all of the paint off. I didn't, um, start manufacturing different parts and whatnot for it. I didn't want to really get that crazy with it. I wanted to try to keep it as original as possible, especially with the paint. One of the selling features of these boxes was this crinkly paint was supposed to be an upgrade, I suppose, to just the typical smooth sheet metal paint. Not that this box is anyway. It's not a hardly a high end toolbox. It's really a just a decent level toolbox for a a mechanic. It is sort of meant to be used in a professional environment, but it's not hardly a $50,000 snap-on rig. But it certainly is. It was worth preserving, and I think I did well enough to where this is probably going to last another 30 years. I would think, with as long as I don't keep it on the concrete floor, which is a bad idea for anything made of metal. Metal that it's that's really chemistry 101 there. Metal and concrete don't mix. But yeah, it's all finished up, and I'm happy I did it, and working good. It looks decent, and it's as I said, more of a. I did this more not that I need a toolbox. I have plenty of those, to be honest. But it was. I hated to, when I saw it sitting there. I hated to see it in the condition that it was in. It was dirty. It had rust on it. It was cobwebs. It was just it probably hadn't been moved in many years, and I've come to discover that I enjoy these restoration projects. I showed you guys my voice, which is behind the box, and this, and I've done obviously my hand planes here. These were tools that were pretty beat up when I got them, but I found that I enjoy doing this as much or more than making furniture lately. It's not that I don't enjoy making furniture anymore, but I've said quite a few times that I'm at the point in my life where I don't need any more furniture, and building something just to build it is, to me, just as wasteful or counterproductive as not doing anything at all. It's if I were selling furniture or building it for other people, maybe I would I'd feel a little bit differently, but I'd rather take old things that can still be useful with a little bit of work, a little bit of time and effort, and I'd rather make them useful again. And I've talked about many times before the notion behind is it better to buy tools new or to restore them? And I've always said I'm split down the middle when it comes to that philosophy, because if you're buying tools to use in making furniture, you're going to spend a lot of time. If you're buying used tools or old tools, vintage tools to use in making furniture, you're going to spend more time, or as much time at least, refurbishing those tools and getting them to work right than you are actually making furniture with them. In this instance, in the instance of the vise, I'm taking for me the end the end result was getting this back to the goal. I mean, the goal was not building a box so I can store tools so I can make furniture with it or what have you. It was getting the box up and running and looking good again, and same thing with my voice. Now the voice, obviously, I redid that voice because it's a high quality voice and I want to use it. But I I really don't want to. I'm trying to. It might sound like I'm contradicting myself. I'm really not. When I because I've spoken about many times about not. You know, when you're if you hear the so-called gurus tell you that you go buy used tools will get you home and they'll get you started, and that's only really that's something you should take with a grain of salt. That being said, if you enjoy restorations, especially for me where this box does have some sentimental value to it, if you enjoy that, then by all means go all in. It can be really fun. It can be really rewarding. As I said, I found doing this, getting this box looking good again, and you know, I hardly not going to sit here and tell you that just to be amazed by this. It's not really, it's not. You know, I didn't take this thing apart, reforge it in my, you know, in my backyard forge, and start cutting sheet metal and all that. I basically, what I did was, I had a mallet, a wood dowel, an oak dowel that I used to polish up my gouges, and some WD-40, some Scotch Brite pads, and a couple of wire brush drill bits, and I just put a few hours of effort into it. It probably took me about 3 hours when all was said and done, clean up, painting, and then, you know, then doing all the touch-up work. So this was not a labor of necessity. This was not me doing this because I need a toolbox. It was me restoring something that belonged to somebody, a family member that I want to save. So that's why I did it. It wasn't for. This was not a Bill needs a toolbox, so he's going to, rather than go out and buy one, he's going to, you know, find a vintage one for $5 and fix it up, which, you know, you certainly can do if that's your thing. I'm not certainly. I definitely wouldn't knock that. So yeah, that is really what I've been finding lately. Is I've really been enjoying doing things like this. It's you know, a little bit of nostalgia, little bit of you know, some sentimentality, little bit of doing it because it's just a reminder of my stepdad. So I just want to end on that note and say I hope you enjoyed watching these little clips I put up and all that. I told you before, I don't put up, I don't have the video editing equipment or software, I mean, to where I can put up videos of me, you know, whacking out dents with a mallet. I don't necessarily find that enjoyable to watch, and I'm sure a lot of people who, at least the people who, I think the people who watch the videos I put up, they probably wouldn't enjoy it either. This is not really a how-to channel. It's in some regards it's a blog, really a video blog, and just talking about my thoughts and sharing some of the projects that I'm working on. So once again, I really appreciate you guys watching, and have a great night. Thank you.